Hello, welcome to Primer. Today we're talking about 2001 A Space Odyssey. If you are going to pick a word that summarises Stanley Kubrick as a filmmaker, the one I would go for is iconic. If you look back at his films, you've got Jack Nicholson slashing through a door, iconic of horror. You've got white-suited droogs brawling to Beethoven, iconic of violence. You've got a drill sergeant who is the drill sergeant of all other drill sergeants. Before all these, you've got a spaceship floating through space to the Blue Danube. You've got a robot who is as intelligent as he is merciless. And you've got one of the most iconic revelations in a film. You've got other sci-fi directors who consider it a cornerstone. I'm talking about people like Danny Boyle, Ridley Scott, Steven Spielberg. All say that this is a fundamental film. It's on top 100 lists. But if you actually watch it, it's weird. It's such an odd film. The whole thing is quite slow. You've got characters who come up and then disappear, and there's weird focus on things like food and toilets that you don't normally get. It's so strange. But with a little bit of perspective, you can see why it's so great. So one of the things that gets lost on people is the fact that Stanley Kubrick took cinema goers to the moon before Buzz Aldrin did. It seems like an obvious point, but they didn't have the pictures that we have now. They hadn't seen out there. So this was massive. It was the space race between the US and the Soviet Union. That's one of the reasons why this film is so great, but so weird. It's trying to show people the future in as much detail as it can manage, but at the same time, it was a future of the 1960s. Do you know what was exciting for people in the 1960s? Let me tell you, it was the future. Just having a glimpse of what life might be like. People wanted to know what their future would be like, and they thought it was their future. They thought they might see these things in their lifetime. Just consider that. Stanley Kubrick was by no means the only person to get on this bandwagon. The one and only Walt Disney got on this one as well. And he wasn't just interested in making films. He also built a place called Epcot, which stands for something. Walt Disney thought that the future was so exciting that he could build an entire theme park about it. He actually wanted to show you what the future would be like. He wanted you to see the cars, the houses, the weird technology that would make up the future. In Walt Disney's own words,
the heart of everything we'll be doing in Disney World will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow. We call it Epcot, spelled E-P-C-O-T, Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. So that's what Epcot is. An experimental prototype community that will always be in a state of becoming. It will never cease to be a living blueprint of the future, where people actually live a life they can't find anywhere else in the world.
And let me tell you, if Walt Disney's getting involved, you've got to know there's something entertaining about it. I don't know whether you've heard of him, but he did pretty well. If you look at the way we understand that chunk of the film and apply it to the beginning bit with the monkeys, you've basically got the same thing. It's just not as impressive. Apparently it's not quite as good when scientists painstakingly uncover evidence and analyse it and track it over years and years to get to the truth. Wild speculation is just better. Speaking of wild speculation, some people think NASA got Stanley Kubrick to fake the moon landing. These people are wrong. For a film that's supposed to be science fiction, it does a very good job of predicting the future. We aren't in space in the same way they thought we'd be in space. They thought you'd be in space. Like you'd just be sitting on a computer, but in space. The combination of engineering and imagineering that created the powerful predictions about computers, they may be off in terms of scale, with clunky cassette tapes as memory, but space travel, artificial intelligence, tablet computing, toilets in space, video phones. The date might be wrong, but the future was not. So how do we get the most out of the film? Well, first of all, don't be afraid of how long it is. There is a big interval in the middle. I know there are some people who are going to want to string me up by my ankles for this, but just watch it in two halves. The point of this is to get from the beginning to the film to the end of the film so that you can actually see it. It might take some of the power out of the film, but let's face it, 2 hours 41 is intimidating. That's an entire evening. It's more important to get from the beginning of the film to the end of the film than it is to never touch it because it's so big. And if you are watching it from beginning to end, there is a gap in the middle so you can get a snack. I haven't even got into this film yet. We haven't even talked about the first half of the first half yet. I might need to make another film because I haven't even gotten to talk about food and toilets yet. Yeah, there's food and toilets. We haven't even got to the robots in space that try and kill people. So the heart of the film, where it gets a bit more exciting, is a robot trying to kill you. And I think you'll be able to understand that, because it's a robot, and he's trying to kill you. I don't think that needs explaining. I think you'll get that bit. And the bit at the end, I don't think you will get, because I don't think you're supposed to get it, because it's really, really weird. However, I think if you can get through this bit, the bit where nothing seems to be happening and nothing seems to matter, then you should be okay. Thank you for watching Primer. If there's a film out there that you think's really, really weird, even though everyone thinks it's really, really good, put it down in the comments. We'll see if we can explain that for you. If not, it's just that weird, I'm afraid. Yeah, some of them are. They're not that good. They'll say they're good, but they're not. And the only way you're going to be able to tell the difference is by subscribing to this channel or making up your own mind. But let's face it, it's easier to just press that button. It is easier. It's easier. It's just down there. That was the worst